They did. It was the formula, devil's in the details. You're like, oh, no, we're good. The problem is that people don't look at this stuff. God forbid they start fighting or, death, disability. You got to look at all of it. Divorce, death, disability. Those are the big ones. So divorce, if you build a business, do you want somebody's ex-spouse all of a sudden owning half of their shares? Probably not. So you better get them on board and the spouse on board that says, hey, you guys figure it outside of this business. Um, that conversation can be tough, but it's much easier to do it when everyone's getting along than when people really start fighting and hating each other. So that's one thing. Other one, disability. You get a disability coverage if you want to, but what if somebody is disabled and can no longer, do their share of the business, drive their share of the business? What happens then? It's worth noting. Are they just going to sit back and collect the paycheck forever and then the other partners pick it up? What if they're a sole proprietor? Then it becomes a much bigger issue too. Death obviously is the final curtain call. So that can be fixed usually with some cheap term insurance just to cover you. Emergency cash flow too. If you lose a business partner, you should have a little extra for that emergency cash flow. It can be injected so the person can go out and hire somebody to help with whatever share of the business they were driving, or at least not to have to be forced into liquidation to pay out, the percent of ownership to the widow or whoever it was supposed to go to, which I've seen formulas be like, oh, you have to pay it off, you have to get the valuation done and pay it off within 90 days. It's like, well, where's that cash coming from?
Hmm.
People never think about that. So yeah, good luck getting a loan from a bank. Plus, you're gonna have to pay those interest payments. Is the cash flow really gonna allow for that? Probably not. So it's challenging.
One of the things I hear, and I've been in these conversations with folks that are start going into partnership with someone, and I'll ask them a couple questions about, is there going to be a majority partner? I actually have a family member. I was talking to my wife about this. I was like, a very, very a more fundamental question: who's going to run the business? And there wasn't, a clear. It's like, oh, hey, we are three, three people that, we all have our own little areas that we operate. And for them, they haven't even answered the question of, okay, who's the tiebreaker? Who's
Yeah, great question. Who has president on their name tag or CEO? Who's the one really making that final decision?
and but they're going into it, they're like, we get along great, we're complementary, we're not going to go into each other. And they just have trouble seeing that the day will come where there needs to be that tiebreaker,
Yep.
where that there needs to be that agreement.
Mhm. Absolutely. Like even on distribution of profits, something good and positive showing that you're doing well, like who's going to determine whether or not to take a distribution of profits? What if one wants it, one doesn't? What are you going to do? Not take it? I mean, somebody might be like, I don't want to pay the tax. The other person might be like, yeah, but my kid's going to college. I need the money to pay for college. Like, well, tough. I'm not paying tax. I'm not taking the distribution. Like, okay. Like, it's not a good spot to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen a lot of this, and the clarity of the plan is what matters. That's the most important thing.
And the other thing would be, it's, I think we have this belief, and I run into it when I'm taking on clients. And I've gotten to the point where we handle all the tough situations before they even sign on the dotted line. Because you sit there, you're going in, you're kind of euphoric, but we want to be really, really clear because that's the best time to sort things out. And if you're building a business with some others, you want to sort it out before while the enterprise value is still relatively small.
Yep. And you want to revisit it every couple of years.
Well, tell me about that.
So to your point, the enterprise value is small. I've seen companies in existence for 20 years. The enterprise value was $100,000. So they were real generous, being like, hey, we're going to make the enterprise value $500,000. We don't have to look at this for 5 years or so. And then 20 years go by, the enterprise value